you, Nick. Let's hear a big round of applause for Nick.
Your best shot. Bring the hurt.
Start the timer.
Start the time. The sun's already down, so.
What? Hey guys. Yeah, I can see. There's 6 pages. Well. I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight to witness my thesis defense. I've after 32 years of gathering data, making observations with with my collaborators, I'm finally ready to conclude my study. The title of my thesis is Non-Equilibrium Romance and Ultra-Slow Relaxation of Confined Living Standards During Bachelor Years. I know only a couple of people get that.
Man.
I'm sure you guys have read my abstract on bioarchive, but if you haven't, I'll repeat it here. So Zach's bachelor years were characterized by an equilibrium state consisting of high confinement and relaxed living standards. The equilibrium state was disrupted by his romance with Natasha. So we'll get to that. So my advisor told me I should break the ice with some coronavirus jokes. So here's the first one. What kind of jokes are allowed during quarantine? Inside jokes. So that's probably appropriate for this speech. Why didn't the man with COVID-19 laugh at my coronavirus jokes? They flew over his head. Okay, I got those 2 off the internet. So this third one I made up, so I'm really sorry. How many global pandemics does it take to cancel a wedding? The answer is at least 2. Okay, I'm sorry. That was a little below. That's the worst one. All right. Wasn't even funny. You're an asshole, Dad. Okay, well, so we're going to get to my thesis eventually, but I have to share some brotherly anecdotes first. So I've collected a number of them starting in the 1980s. Actually, I met Zach when he was just a baby. Although my first memory of Zach was before he was even born, so I think this is actually my first memory. They say that your traumatic memories are the first ones. So we're in the living room, me and Mom and Dad, and I'm probably 2 or 2.5, and I asked Mom, "Can I sit on your lap?" And she's pregnant with Zach, and she says, "I can't. You can't sit on my lap. Your belly's too big." And so I was really pissed. So I was like, there's this precious resource, my parents' attention, and now I have to share it with Zach. So I learned a lesson that night. Okay. All right, thanks. You guys are making this easier for me. That's one. Luckily, not only do we have to share attention from our parents, but we actually also shared chores growing up. So when I was little, my job was to set the table before dinner. So Zach's job was to go outside and shovel up our dog's poop in the backyard. And so we all called him Poop Boy. That was his name, Zach Poop Boy. So I don't know how nobody's talked about this yet this weekend. So this was, to me, a pretty reasonable division of labor. Zach didn't seem to agree. So conversations regarding this apparent unfairness would go something like this. So pretend I'm Dad. "Hey, Poop Boy, you need to go outside and clean up Leo's poop." So now I'm Zach. "I always have to do that. Why can't Nick go out?" And okay. "Well, because you're Poop Boy." So me and Mom thought that was pretty funny. So I think the real reason we never switched roles is because Zach is so good at being Poop Boy. He could clear the whole yard in a few minutes. It was amazing. We didn't know how he could do it so fast. One day we saw him flinging it over the fence into the neighbor's yard, and that's how we knew. Okay. So, all right, we got through that. So Zach had a lot of friends growing up, and I mean, I really always envied how easily people are drawn to Zach, and how spontaneous and how much fun Zach and his friends would have together. From my perspective, Zach's high school friends kind of divided into two general categories. So the first category was the bad influences, and the second category is the drinking buddies. So I'm happy to report only the drinking buddies are here tonight. Okay. Where's Mike? Where's Mike? Mike Hellas Beal is here tonight. So in high school, Zach and Mike would have entire conversations centered on asking if the other guy was pissed about something. So I have a lot of demo conversations in this speech. So here's one. Okay, so I'm Zach. Oh, Hellas Beal. Hellas, Zach. Hey, I just benched 250 pounds. Are you pissed? No, I have a gym at home. Are you pissed you have to go to the YMCA and lift weights with old men? And then they would both just say, oh, Hellas, and they'd laugh. So I think in retrospect, only two future doctors could have figured out how to use the word Hellas as a greeting, adverb, adjective, and interjection. So I have mixed memories about Zach and Mike's relationship, because this was around the time that I stopped being able to beat up on Zach and he started being able to beat up on me because they were lifting weights. Is Dan here? Where's Dan Renz?
Yeah.
Hey, Dan. Sorry, Molly. So when Zach and Dan get together, what'd you say? When Zach and Dan get together, their main focus is on crushing things. So I think the start in high school and the lacrosse team, when their main goal was to crush the bones of their opponents. So Zach and Dan and I all lived in San Diego for a while together, and we go surfing. And sometimes Stan would let us on the military base, and we would surf there, and that was a lot of fun. That was really cool. So Zach and Dan would crush waves, and then afterwards they would crush burritos. Thanks for laughing. A few of you are. Where's my, yeah, no. I got them numbered.
Oh my gosh.
So a few months ago, we all went canoeing for Zach's bachelor party. Mike talked about it a little bit, and so I learned about a few more things you could crush, namely miles on the river, beef jerky, Hostess donuts, and cans of Bud Light. And so that last one I think they learned about in high school. They figured out how to crush cans of Bud Light in high school. Is Chris here? There's K. Chris with a K. I have it spelled with a C here. So this is a cool story. I remember when I was visiting Zach one time. I think I had moved away, and he invited Chris over to play music, and they were jamming. I didn't know what that meant, but it was obvious music came like really naturally to Chris. And I asked him to play. It was kind of a challenge. I asked him to play the Beatles song "Norwegian Wood." So he kind of looked up and he looked up at the ceiling and he mumbled a little bit, and I was like, "What's he doing?" And some notes. And then he just started playing Norwegian Wood on the guitar, like note for note, in the right key. Like, it's just amazing. I thought it was incredible. So to me, Chris is now Chris the Human Jukebox. Only instead of paying him with quarters, you can just give him weed. Glad you're having fun.
I'm glad JJ's not here.
Zach told me I wasn't allowed to talk about drugs. So it's the only one. So, okay.
Oh, man.
I think Zach's choice of friends, though, say a lot about who he is as a person. So Mike has such a positive outlook on life. A positive outlook on life. And his whole career as a radiologist is focused on helping people. And I think that's really cool. Dan is like a total slew high man for others, puts people before himself. He was a Marine, and now he volunteers and coaches lacrosse. Chris is quietly intelligent, creative, super talented. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Zach's closest friends are such great guys. I think all the qualities that he values in others are the qualities he tries to cultivate in himself. Zach loves to play music. He's constantly reading and learning about new things. He has an unhealthy interest in physics and biochemistry. He came over one time when I lived in San Diego a decade ago, and we had these they're like Legos. It's called Connects. This kind of toy set, and I built like this weird motorcycle, and Zach built a double helix out of Connects. It was like I still remember it. I just remember thinking it's like the coolest thing. This double helix made out of it was perfect. It like the C's and the A's and the T's and the G's. Anyway, yeah. So. And Zach puts a ton of value in advancing his field in biochemistry. And I think it really benefits everybody. It benefits all of humanity. So here's some examples. So for the first time, out of all people, human civilization, Zach figured out how these things called bacteriophages insert their DNA into bacteria cells. And that probably sounds esoteric, but so I looked up some statistics on the internet, and there's a handful of soil, there's a trillion of these bacteriophages. There's literally more of them than any other organisms on the earth combined. They're a type of virus that infect bacteria cells. And Zach figured out a fundamental property about how they work. He figured out why these things called glycan shields, which are, yeah, love them, love glycan, everybody does. So they're on the outside of the HIV virus, and they're part of why it makes it so hard for us to make a vaccine. And so the things Zach figured out about glycan shields are going to, help scientists make a vaccine for HIV. So I think so many people, probably including myself, their careers are selfish. They're focused on making money, even to the detriment of other people or to the environment. And Zach's doing something that's really going to help make the world better. And I think that's pretty admirable. So it is. Okay, anyway, let's talk more about Zach's friends. So Zach's, this is going to be another nice one, and then we're going to get into the nasty stuff. So Zach's just always been really good at maintaining relationships with me, with his friends, and I've always admired this. I'm not very good at it. I think one reason for this is that Zach has this trait. Psychologists would call it cognitive empathy. It's basically being able to put yourself into somebody else's place and see their perspective. They describe it as empathy by thought, not empathy, rather than by feeling, empathy by thought. And probably if you know Zach, you probably see this in your day-to-day interactions with him. And I don't know if for Zach it's intentional or subconscious. Is it intentional or subconscious? Okay. So Zach can sort of see what a person's going through and then say or do something that the other person would value in that situation. Sometimes it's profound, but sometimes it's simple. Like, every time I stay with you guys, Natasha comes home from work. She had to do a 12-hour shift, and Zach says, well, I really need to make dinner for Natasha because she's going to be tired. Or like this morning, how you bought us all bagels. These are just little examples. He's a sweetheart. But I think it's intentional. I think it's, he does it on purpose because he realizes, he's good at it. Anyway, so Zach can use this power for evil as well as good. So do you guys know how sometimes you can have a confrontation with someone and you can't really think of a good comeback until hours later? Zach doesn't have this problem. You can just ask any member of the St. Louis, San Diego, or Greencastle police departments. Parking tickets. Just parking tickets. So my favorite examples of this unique ability come from surfing with Zach. So Dan can attest surfing with Zach, probably better described as breaking up fights in the ocean or watching people Zach doesn't know yell at him. That one? You like that one? That's the one? Okay, yeah. That's right. That's good. Okay, so so who are the non-surfers in the audience? Mostly. Okay, so I need to give you guys some information. So you need to understand that most confrontations amongst surfers arise from disputes over wave ownership and priority. So generally if two people try to catch the same wave, they'll interfere with each other, they'll wipe out, they might run into each other, collide. or generally they'll just miss a good wave. So there's general guidelines on who's supposed to yield versus who's supposed to catch the wave, and then if the wave isn't yours, it's called dropping in, because it's kind of like you drop into the wave and you're in front of the guy and you cut him off. And anyway, so Zach, being both quite athletic and quite assertive, he caught a lot of waves, and let's just say the other surfers wouldn't always agree that they were his to catch. So this invariably leads to disputes. So, okay, here's another demo confrontation between Zach and Surfer Bro. All right, so I'm the bro over here. Hey, dude, you just dropped in on me, and earlier you dropped in on my 10 friends over there. I don't think so. Are you just pissed I caught more waves than you? I grew up in Encinitas. This is my beach. And how come you suck at surfing? So at this point, the bro would get flustered and swim off.
Oh, man.
Or Zach would threaten to drown him.
Yes. Oh, man. Ooh.
I love surfing with Zach. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so, well, he always smiles. Yeah. He's always... Yeah, right. Okay, so that was kind of the backstory. So now we can talk about the ultra-slow relaxation of living standards and high confinement and the equilibrium state that Natasha broke. Okay, so anybody who knew Zach in his 20s knows that his living situation exhibited periods of either relaxed living standards or high confinement. Like a bacteriophage. So high confinement, of course, occurred both at his graduate housing / prison cell at UCSD. Yeah. And later on at his one-bedroom junior apartment home outside the Rouse parking lot. So this is where, in addition to getting a PhD, Zach ate a lot of Chipotle and built Minecraft computers and thought a lot about glassy dynamics. Okay, we're almost done.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hang in there, Zach.
Oh, no. Oh, no. There it is. Recovery, baby.
It's not the toast yet. So in contrast, Zach's relaxed living standard occurred in areas of relatively lower confinement, namely when he lived at the Sigma Chi frat house, or later at the Via Mallorca homeless shelter. And I debated with my wife, my collaborator, whether I should call it the Via Mallorca drug den or the Via Mallorca homeless shelter. There are no drugs; it's just homeless people. So, do you know about though? Were you there for the? That's right. Okay, that's where they met. Perfect. So my thesis is going to be proved. So, okay. So a little back. So the apartment at the Via Mallorca is officially rented by this woman who hadn't really lived there in like 10 years. What was her name? Estas. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so her name, Selena. So her name was on the lease, but she didn't live there, and she continually found new tenants to sublet from her, and she pocketed the difference in rent. And so 3 to 4 people lived there at any given time. And when one person left, she would just find a new person to take that person's place. This is accurate, isn't it? Thank you. And so being near a major university, this wasn't hard. And so the house got cleaned when all the tenants moved out at once, which is to say never. So the amount of filth was, you can imagine, unimaginable. So there's this one couch in the living room. It probably belonged to some guy like 10 years prior, like Selena's couch. I mean, I don't know where it was. And so Zach had all his instruments propped up on it, and so I'm going to name 7 and not 6. What was it? Ukulele, banjo, guitar, mandolin, tabla, keyboard were all on this couch. I should note Zach can play all these instruments. Humans weren't allowed to sit on the couch. It was reserved for the instruments. Zach called it the VIP couch. I loved that. Nobody ever complained that they couldn't sit on the VIP couch. In retrospect, it's because nobody wanted to. Okay. So somewhere along this journey, Zach met Natasha. and released him from his high confinement state. So the first time I met Natasha, I knew she was the one because she made fun of Zach's shirt and her aunt bought me dinner. Where's Shrill? Thank you, Shrill. It's delicious. It's in Del Mar. She made fun of it. I don't know. I'm making it up. I don't even know if it happened. What did you say? These are all like partial anecdotes. I'm paraphrasing. So over the years, I've gotten to know Natasha pretty well. You know, it's funny. I literally have it written here. She's one of the most unique and genuine people that I've met in my life, and that's exactly what Natasha said. So it's true. She knows what she cares about. She isn't afraid to dismiss what she doesn't. Natasha is... It's true. Natasha is hilariously cynical. Sometimes about like the more superfluous aspects of modern American culture, or about people who aren't as genuine as she is. A lot like Zach, she has an uncanny perceptiveness about people and their internal motivations. And it's funny. Mike said similar stuff. She's mentally tough, physically tough. So Mike talked about this float trip that we went on, canoe trip. Float trip is like what you say in Missouri. And several nights in the Current River, we were sleeping on like rocks, and Zach was pissed the whole time, and he's kicking the rocks. I love you, Zach. No, I'm not talking about that, Dad. And we ate. So it was a 4-day trip, and we ate all the food in the first 3 days. So on the 4th day, all that remained was a slice of a loaf of sliced bread and a can of baked beans. So we just poured the beans out onto the bread, and we just ate bean sandwiches all day. And Natasha thought it was hilarious, or at least she really liked Zach, and so she faked it. I don't know. So whenever we go out to eat now, Natasha just suggests that I order the bean sandwich off the menu. Oh, that's so funny. So you're a good sport, Natasha. I think Zach and Natasha are great for each other. They have two favorite pastimes. The first is talking about people using their full names. Rob Randolph, Terry Switzer, and the second is drinking coffee in the morning while making fun of people. So I don't know why, but whenever I come and visit San Diego for work, Zach and Natasha let me stay with them, and so we wake up on Saturday mornings and we drink coffee and make fun of people. So Zach, they used to live in La Jolla, Zach and Nat, on the second-story balcony, which overlooked Charmont Drive by the the Mormon Temple. And so a lot of people are always walking back and forth, and Zach and Natasha provide commentary. So they would just criticize people on their morning strolls. So their favorite targets included big men with small dogs, paunchy guys wearing gym shorts and flip-flops, and women in yoga pants that shouldn't be wearing yoga pants. So Zach and Natasha moved to a quiet street recently in Leucadia. There's no pedestrians to ridicule anymore, so now they just make fun of lizards. That's right. Yeah. So okay. This is supposed to be like 50% sentimental, but I guess it's more like 90-10. So I can tell Zach and Natasha really love each other. Whether they're dancing at home after work for no reason, they literally do. It's like a movie. Like I'm sitting there like reading, and Natasha comes home and they start dancing. Like nobody does this. Are cooking together, improvising love songs about Cruella. I have a video of that. I'm not going to share it. Or exclusively listening to the Beach Boys. Exclusively. For some reason, being in love comes naturally to them. I mean, it really does. And it sounds trite, but I think we can all learn to be better lovers by just watching these guys and how they do it. I mean that. Okay, so that pretty much concludes my thesis. So hold on. So Zach and I, we both have kind of poor memories, I think, when it comes to events. He and I have kind of discussed together how our friends sometimes remind us of stories that we'd completely forgotten. And so while working on this speech, for every kind of funny anecdote or incisive memory of Zach that I wrote down, there were probably a dozen I couldn't find room for. Like the time we almost drowned in high surf at Black's Beach, or got stranded in a boulder field backpacking in the Sierras, road trips across the country, our various discussions about science and mathematics at dinner table, when Mom complained that this was too much Nintendo talk. Or all the times Dad would have to bail us out of some situation claiming that was a mistake. Or when we were kids, like when Zach hit me on the head with a broom for saying he had a crush on Rose Fontana. Do you remember that? Anyway, so... So for every one of those stories, you know, there's probably 100 that I can't even remember anymore, and probably that nobody remembers anymore. But they happened, and I'm not sure what to think about that. Except that I suspect it's the same for everybody, and to me it seems bittersweet. So, I propose a toast to Zach, to Zerk and Nert, to Zerk and Natasha, that in their life together, they make more happy memories than they can remember. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Nick.
Good job, guys.
Cheers.
Oh, man.
All right, let's hear a big round of applause for best man, Nick. That's all right, let's hear it one more time for Nick.